We are in Senior English A this morning, and our objective now is to address Macbeth 3:1. Act 3, Scene 1. Let's review. In the second act of Macbeth, we have the killing of Duncan. We will see him no more. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth have conspired to kill the old man in their own house. Unfortunately, they didn't think through their project very well, and they left the bodyguards alive. Macbeth had to kill the bodyguards, and in the process of doing so, Malcolm and Donalbain, the two sons of Duncan, will elect to run away instead of stay and figure out who has murdered their father. Malcolm going to England, Donalbain going to Ireland. So they separate. They literally go to two different physical locations. We're now ready to begin Act 3, and I want to point out that this is a play about a man. Now, I know some of you are going to go, dude, we already know that. The title of the play is Macbeth. Nope. Many have argued this isn't a play about Macbeth as much as it's a play about a man. That is to say, back to that theme of manhood. Now, I want to point out something that Shakespeare does intentionally, but we're going to miss it unless I point it out to you. I'll let you flip back because for some of you, you won't be able to remember because this is your first introduction to the play, or maybe second. And to that degree, you know, this for you is you haven't spent enough time with it. But I'll ask to see how closely you were paying attention. Who speaks first in Act 2, Scene 1 of Macbeth?
Duncan.
Banquo speaks first. Outstanding. Who speaks first in 3-1 of Macbeth?
Banquo.
All right. Now, there's some importance here for us. I'm going to reserve the reasons why Macbeth is going to be a play about Banquo in many ways. It's a play about a man. A play about Banquo, but I'm going to reserve that information until a little bit later, and we'll be talking about it. Let's go ahead now and take a look at page 374 is where you should be. I'm in 3-1. Banquo will come on stage alone. This will be his first soliloquy. Banquo now, of course, pointing out what is bloody obvious to an audience. It gets dark at night. Yeah, Macbeth got to be king, but I wonder how Banquo thinks about it since he was there to hear those prophecies. Look what he says. Thou hast it now. Thou means what? What's the pronoun for what? You, right. You have it now. Who's he talking about? He's talking about his pal Macbeth. Remember, these guys are best friends. King, Cawdor, Glamis. Do you find it interesting that there's a reversal of the order? Did you see that? When the prophecies were given, what were the prophecies order? Glamis, Cawdor, King. Notice the reversal here, beginning with what it is that he is. He's now a king, right? Thou hast it now. All as the weird women promised. In other words, what? I'm teaching you how to read this stuff. What's he say? It came true. The prophecies came true. And yet, I fear thou playest most. Now, some of you will say, whoa. Is he doing this kind of thing intentionally? What thing? What word am I pointing out now that Banquo uses? The word foul. Why am I pointing out that word? Fair is foul and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy air. See, some of you are going to say, okay, did he like sit down and open writing, open the third act in the first scene, and he has Banquo speaking, and he says, I'm going to use the same word I used at the opening in 1-1 of... Not, see... some of this you have to argue is not intentional. It's just genius. It's the work of genius. Okay, he's playing a game with his audience. Fair is foul and foul is... Wait a minute, what Banquo just say? You got it. You're now a king, and yet I fear thou playest most foully for it means what? Yeah, he suspects his own pal of killing Duncan. Why would that be kind of a freaky position to be in if you're Banquo? Think about it. Right. He's now become the king. He's got all the power. There's only one other person that knows about the prophecies, and it's the one speaking. But that's not where Banquo goes because he trusts Macbeth's friendship. That's not where he goes. Look where he does go, though. And yet I fear thou playest most foully for it. Yet, keep reading with me. I'm teaching you how to read this stuff. I'm on page 374. Yet it was said, it should stand not in thy posterity. In other words, but Banquo is the one who is given the prophecy about having sons who will be kings. Not Macbeth. It's Banquo who's given that prophecy. Notice he says, but that myself should be the root and father of many kings. If there comes truth from them, as upon thee, Macbeth, their speeches shine, why by the verities of thee made good may they not be my oracles as well, and set me up in hope? Now I realize this is not our language, it's English, but it's not our language. It's a Renaissance English, isn't it? And so you have to go back and look at the poetry of what it is that Banquo just said. Once you see it though, you go, oh, I totally get what he's saying. What is he saying? Can anybody put it in own words to figure out?
Is he like asking like why his sons are?
He says, whoa, whoa, whoa. If the witches prophesied Macbeth would become king, and he did, and they prophesied that I would have sons who would be king, whoa, maybe my sons will be king. Wow. Macbeth, or Banquo, a little bit excited, but then look what he says next. And it says a lot about his character. It tells us a lot about who he is. Look what he says next. But hush, no more. What does that mean? And put in your notes what that tells you about this guy. He has the capacity, what would you say, Mr. Durant? But hush, no more, he says. He has the capacity of what? What character trait does he possess that Macbeth does not possess? Wow, I love it. That's a great word, and that's a great way to think about Banquo. He has temperance, to speak in the Platonic virtues. He has self-control. Mr. Nelson, sometimes we'll even use the word discipline. Banquo has or possesses a discipline that Macbeth does not have. See, think about it. You're a kid. You're in 7th grade. You walk into the Blairs. You got no money, but you're hungry. You're with your pal. Your pal says, I'm hungry, I'm going to go ahead and grab something, put it inside of my jacket and walk out. Now, here's the problem for you. You know you could do it too and get away with it. It's like, dude, it's only a few bucks, who cares? And they make lots of money anyway in this place. You could do it. You're watching your pal, in fact, do it, right? You're aware that you could do it, and you get ready to do it because you are hungry, and you get ready, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, see, this is Banquo, you say, hush, no more. And you show restraint. You don't do it. Outside in the parking lot as you're walking away, your pal takes out whatever it is that he stole, and he looks at you and says, dude, what is wrong with you? See, the Macbeth character can't understand discipline. He can do it, so he does it. Then afterwards, for example, when the police pull in to the parking lot and pull up next to both of you and say, I need to see the receipt for paying for that. I just got a phone call from Blair's. The Macbeth person goes, oh, crap. See, you do it, and then afterwards you go, oh. The Banquo character goes, awfully glad I didn't do that. See you, pal. Enjoy what it looks like from the inside of the police station. I didn't take anything. I'm free and clear. That's Banquo. Notice Shakespeare's genius. It's not that Banquo doesn't want to steal something from Blair's. He wants it. He wants it just as bad as the other guy. It's not a matter of desiring. What is it a matter of? Write it in your notes then. It's not a matter of desiring. Clearly, Banquo would like to have the power, just like Macbeth would like to have the power. His sons to be kings would be nice for Banquo. He wouldn't have to stand out on the battlements in the nighttime and defend the castle. He could go to bed the way kings do. He wants the power, but he has a certain level of restraint, of discipline. Shakespeare will call this being a man. This is the introduction of manhood. Again, this theme. Now, to be fair, it always is problematic when I use an example like the one I just used, because one or two of the students I've lectured over the years have to go, crap, I remember being in a moment like that, and I didn't show such good restraint. Think about the power of this play. Shakespeare often in his plays said, the plays I'm writing are like a mirror, where the audience sits and watches, and then the play reflects back to the audience the truths. So, for example, I've had students that say, what you just outlined, either in Blair's or cheating on a test when I knew I could get away with it, I did that, and now I'm watching this play where I get to watch two different personalities behave. The next time I have that opportunity of being able to take something, I think I might be a little more Banquo than Macbeth and show a little bit of restraint, because I'm about to watch a guy take it and then go over the cliff or walk right into the propeller. And that's exactly what Macbeth is about to do. He's going to walk right into the propeller. On the other hand, Banquo, while he does die, he will die with honor, knowing full well he showed restraint. But hush, no more. This is why we read the plays and not just watch the plays. Because a little line like hush, no more. Notice, I've just spent 10 minutes on these lines. And yet all of a sudden, it kind of opens up the play. And you begin to realize that Macbeth becomes a character type. A certain type of character. A certain type of personality. Each of us in our own lives, I'm talking 3B now, aren't I? Each of us in our own lives have that capacity to say, I've been a little Macbeth in my life, been a little Banquo in my life. Some will say, been a little Lady Macbeth in my life as well. You know, I've talked people into doing things that they clearly didn't want to do because I could kind of, do the psychological thing with them. Of course, after Hush No More, look at Shakespeare's sense of timing is genius. Look what happens. Who walks on stage? Brutal. Brutal. Macbeth walks on stage. He says, hey, you going for a ride later today? Yeah. Banquo. Yeah. You going alone? Macbeth. You going alone? Banquo. No, I'm going to take my boy, Fleance, with me. Oh, okay. And it slowly starts to dawn on the audience. No way. It's one thing. It's right. It's one thing to kill a king, right? To get power. But to jack your very closest best friend, and let's not finish, and his son? Wait a minute, why would Macbeth want to kill Fleance, Banquo's boy? He was there when he heard the prophecies of the witches that said, you won't be a king, but your sons will be king. We're not making all this up. Shakespeare wants us to understand this. In fact, on page 376, Macbeth will say as much in his soliloquy of 3:1. We call it the soliloquy to be thus is nothing but to be safely thus. Soliloquy, take a look at it. Macbeth now completely alone. And look what he says. To be thus is nothing but to be safely thus. I'm on 376, right at the bottom of the page there. 376, I apologize, I should have given you more aid there. 376, line 48. To be thus is nothing but to be safely thus. What does that mean? Put it in your own words. What's he mean? I'm a king, but what? I'm not safe yet. Why is he not safe?
You just got to worry about it.
See, this is the problem with killing people. The problem with killing people is that it's really hard to stop. Because if anyone knows, then you got to tell about it, right? See how that works? And so you got the potential of discovery. Of course, there's the other side of this. Look what he says. Our fears in Banquo stick deep. And in his, look what he says about his own best friend. In his royalty of nature reigns that which would be feared. Royalty of nature. Hush, no more. See, this is the interesting thing about peer pressure. Once you analyze it, you understand it. The reason why your pal needs you to steal something from Blair's with him or her is because if you say no, and she does it, or he does it, now all of a sudden, there's a conflict in the mind of the one who steals it about you. Because you didn't steal, and she did steal, he knows something about you that could get you in trouble. He could narc if he wanted. He could tell. He could turn you in. That's one thing. No, dude, he's my closest friend. He would never do that. That's fine. But what about the second thing? He didn't take it. You did, he didn't. Why didn't he take it? Now all of a sudden it starts to work on the mind. What, you think you're better than me? What, you think you're... See how that works? Peer pressure, analyze it. It's genius what Shakespeare shows us. Peer pressure works because of fear. I don't want to be made fun of, so I'll do it. I don't want you to think I think I'm better, so I'll do it. But notice how it works the reverse. If I need to talk you into doing something I know you don't want to do, one way to do that is to ask the simple question, what, you think you're better than me? What, you think you're better than me? Notice Macbeth will actually say it out loud. Banquo is better than me. Royalty of nature. We saw it, now we're hearing it. Hush no more. Macbeth will go on. 'Tis much he dares, and to the dauntless temper of his mind he hath a wisdom that doth guide his valor to act in safety. He's a better man than me. That's what he's saying. He's a better man than me. He's not stupid enough to lower himself to steal from Blair's. I did it. And now it's done. See, that's the terrible thing about acts that you commit that are immoral acts. Once they're done, they're done. You can't go back and undo them. You can't pretend like they weren't done. So all you can do is try to rationalize your way out of it. Notice what Macbeth says next. He's going to say he killed Duncan for Banquo's sake. Watch this. It's an amazing way. He literally can talk himself into killing his own best friend. In the end, he's going to talk himself into killing his best friend for his best friend's good. Yeah, it's completely counterintuitive, and yeah, that's the way it works, right? So, for example, you got a villain who's going to say, "Oh no, I really care for my best friend. That's why I have to kill him." Take a look. "'Tis much he dares, and to that dauntless temper of his mind he hath a wisdom that doth guide his valor to act in safety. There is none but he whose being I do fear." He fears Banquo because Banquo didn't steal from Blair's. He didn't do it. See, think about that. The minute you go to the party but don't engage in immoral acts, you become suspect. That's why you have to go to the party and participate. If you don't, you're somehow, what, you think you're better than me? What, you think you're better than us? See how that works? And then the other guy begins to fear you in some way. What, you think you're better than us? What's up with that? See how that works? That's the twist of this. Macbeth is convincing himself Banquo gets what he deserves. Watch. "There is none but he whose being I do fear, and under him my genius is rebuked." He says, I'm so smart, but under Banquo, I'm not smart anymore. He thinks he's smarter than me. That's why he's a man and I'm not. And it's said Mark Antony was by Caesar. It's interesting that Mark Antony and Caesar would be mentioned here, right? Given that Caesar, of course, J.C. is a play of Shakespeare's. Look what he says. He, chid, that means asks. He asked the sisters, when first they put the name of king upon me and bid then speak to him. Uh-oh, Banquo's going to get what he deserves. He should have kept his mouth shut. When the three witches were there and I got my prophecies, he should have kept his mouth shut. He didn't. He asked, what about my future? What about my future? So they told him his future. Now I got to kill him. It's his mistake. It's not my mistake. It's his mistake. He shouldn't have asked the three witches. He asked the three witches. He gets what he deserves. He shouldn't have asked. Which in a twisted kind of logic makes sense. Banquo could have just said, I don't believe in witches and their prophecies. I ain't saying nothing. That's not what he did. He asked, what about me? What about me? And he got told. And Macbeth heard. Then prophet-like they hailed him father to a line of kings. Look at top of 377. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown. Why fruitless? Why fruitless? He ain't gonna have no sons. Banquo's gonna have the sons who become kings, not Macbeth. And put a barren scepter in my hand, in my gripe. A scepter is what you hold to show you're a king. Thence to be wrenched with an unlineal hand, no son of mine succeeding. I'm not gonna have a son who becomes king. If it be so, for Banquo's issue have I filed my mind. Are you looking at this? He literally twists his mind into saying, Macbeth said, into saying, I didn't kill Duncan for my own sake. I killed Duncan for Banquo's sake. I killed Duncan because of Banquo. It's totally Banquo's fault. Banquo's got to pay. I got to kill Banquo. Right. Now we have a tendency to say that, don't we? But here's the problem with calling Macbeth a psycho. He seems to be totally in control at this moment. We can call him a psycho when he's grabbing for an invisible knife. We have a tendency to call him psychotic then. But here, this is cool, cold rationality. It says, I'm going to have to jack him. Think of it this way. You and your pal are at Blair's. Back to my word picture. I like to use it this way. And your pal takes the stuff and you don't. You walk out of Blair's, you leave. See you later. I won't have anything to do with it. You do what you had to do. I'm not going to narc on you or anything, but you go away. Your pal lies in bed that night and says, he was there. He could turn me in. He could turn me in and I could get in serious trouble. It's his fault I took it. He could have told me not to. He didn't tell me not to. He just let me do it. I'm going to have to make sure that he never tells on me, which means I got to jack him. See how that works? See how that works? What, and of course, if you were talking to him, you'd say, whoa, 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 whoa. You both were in Blair's. You made your choice. He made his choice. No, that's not the way it worked. That's not the way it worked. I was there. I made my choice because he didn't tell me not to. He didn't tell me not to, and he didn't participate either, which makes him capable of turning me in. If he turns me in, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. I can't get in trouble. I'm going to have to jack him. Strange logic. And yet, on stage, we'll watch the mind of a serial killer. See, this is what happens when you ask somebody and they killed 13 people. Like, why? Well, I don't know, because 12 wasn't enough. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. See, this is kind of the way it works, right? Where you begin to ask questions, that type of thing. All of a sudden, are you ready for this? All of a sudden, out of the soliloquy will come the cutthroats, the murderers. Macbeth is already planning the murder of his best friend. Jot down in your notes at 3:1, how is Macbeth already evolving as a murderer? He doesn't kill his best friend.
He has people do it for him.
Got me? He's now become the Godfather. He's now become a guy. He doesn't kill people. He brings in a hitman or two, and that's exactly what he does. Are you ready for this? He brings in these two murderer guys, and he says, yesterday we were talking about that man Banquo. He is not a good man, Banquo. Did I tell you about this to you two guys? That the reason you got fired from your job is because of him. And they say, yeah. Well, this is my question. Macbeth says to these two guys, this is my question. Are you men? And they're like, what do you mean? Yeah, we're men. No. It's kind of like dogs. A poodle is a dog and a pit bull is a dog. They're both dogs, but there ain't but one of them that's a real dog. What kind of dog are you? To which both of the murderers say, dude, we'll do anything to prove we're pit bulls. Macbeth, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. This is what I need you to do. I need you to kill Banquo. Now, here's the deal, he says. I would do it myself, but I'm kind of the king, and I can't have blood on my hands. So I need you to go out and take care of the business. Will you do it? And they're like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. Anything for you. You're the king. Whoa. Point out in your notes, how is Macbeth already changing in his role with Lady Macbeth? Write it down. How do you see a change already happening? Yeah, right. Earlier, it was Lady Macbeth who was doing all the scheming, right? Remember, it was Macbeth who told his wife, we'll go no further in this. We're done. And Lady Macbeth was like, what are you talking about? This is how we're going to do it. This is the plan. Notice now it's Macbeth putting together the plan. His plan is to tell two guys, he calls them cutthroats. Before they were called fish, Shakespeare invented this word. That is to say, they're assassins. They're going to kill him. They're going to go out on the side of the road. They're going to kill Banquo, Macbeth's best friend, and Banquo's boy Fleance. They're going to slit both of their throats. Going to kill them both. Right. And this thing Chris Nicholas just did of, whoa. I mean, it's one thing if you got to kill Banquo. But to follow my metaphor, when the guy who stole from Blair says, uh-oh, he's got to get jacked because he was there too. It would be like saying, he's got to get jacked, but I also got to jack his mom and dad. Yeah, I got to definitely jack his mom and dad. Because his mom and dad are going to be in the house, so I got to have to jack them too. And besides that, he didn't tell me I shouldn't do it. It's his mistake. He had his chance. He blew it. You, of course, if you're the law enforcement official that arrests this kid and you're having this conversation, you're like, that doesn't make any sense. And yet, in Macbeth's mind, it's already a done deal. Jot down in your notes, why is Macbeth doing this? Why is he killing his best friend? Now, there are obvious answers. Banquo knows things that nobody else knows. But I'm asking you from a psychological perspective, why is he doing it?
Mindset.
He's clearly, Frederick did this. He's clearly, but be more specific. What is it about Banquo, do you think, that leads him to decide to kill him?
He doesn't want to lose his
He is afraid. See, think about this. We spend a lot of time in high school talking about bullies, don't we? Macbeth is a bully. Macbeth is a quintessential bully. But let's point this out. People who bully inferior people only do it because of fear. Now that seems weird. When you're the one being picked on, and then some adult says, oh, don't worry about it, she's just afraid, that's why she's picking on you. You have a tendency to say, afraid of me? I got nothing I can do to that person. Why would... Well, this is the point. Bullies are afraid of themselves. That's the key. They're afraid because they feel inferior. They don't feel complete. Being a bully allows them to feel more empowered, more complete. Of course, with each act, Macbeth will feel more in control or less in control, more safe or less safe. That's the essence of bullies. They never feel safer when they're bullying. They feel less safe, which is why they have to do it again and again and again. Shakespeare's Macbeth just helped us to be able to discover and understand a little bit better the concept of bully. Interesting. Of course, if you'll think about it, Lady Macbeth kind of bullied Macbeth into doing the first murder, didn't she? Sorry about that, Mr. Keeley.